Everybody knows this generation is a horrible generation. Everybody knows it. Doesn't matter how old you are, if you are a man of conscience, if you are aware, if you're over maybe 16, 17, that is the generation. So anything above that, you all know this generation is horrible. You look at it and you know there's no hope. But but the real question is why? And who's to blame? Because can you ever really blame a child for being a child? He's a child. What does he know? It's the parents. It's always been the parents. The child doesn't decide his diet. It's the parents that feed him.
Today we had a baby shot in New York. I know most of you won't care because it's not your baby. Most don't care about Israel because it's not your country. Most don't care about Guy because he's not your family member. I get it. Heck, most don't care about me. And they are my family members. You see, why is the question, but it's not hard to answer it. It's very easy. Just read First John, chapters 1 through 4, especially. It's only 5 chapters anyway, and they're very short. You know why they're very short? Because John is not a pontificator, articulator, orator. He's a fisherman, plain speak, cowboy kind of guy, southern redneck, the ones that just speak straight. The words aren't so colorful. The vocabulary is not so big. They're not so charming. They just, yay is yay, nay is nay. They mean everything they say, and they know how to say it in very short order. So a baby shot today. 7-month-old little baby girl and her 2-year-old brother. The bullet grazed his back, but it killed the 7-month-old baby girl. Gang related? Well, it was a gang banger. Did he intend to shoot the baby? Yeah. But the cops are asking, who did he intend to shoot? They're looking at the father. Not necessarily the husband of the girl, but the father of the baby, of both babies, walking down the street. And why are they looking at the father? Because one thing cops know, gangbangers don't go around shooting and killing babies. No, Islamist terrorists will do that. Gangbangers don't do that. Unfortunately, he's going to get charged terribly. He's going to have a horrible time in prison if he survives it. They don't like baby killers. But did he intend to shoot the baby? Nope. Not at all. But nonetheless, the baby's dead. So who did he intend to shoot? Was he going after the girl? No. No. Probably going after the baby's daddy. And that's the kind of general perspective of law enforcement because it's their beat. All things being equal, it was probably the daddy, the man that she was walking with, the father of the babies. They were going after. Mobsters did it all the time back in the early 1900s, mid 1900s. You happen to be in a restaurant when the Godfather's having a plate of spaghetti. Only the sauce isn't tomatoes, it's blood. It's you. You just happened to be him when they came in with those Tommy guns, shooting like crazy, according to the FBI agent Elliot Ness. Chicago was ripe with these kinds of things that happen. You just happen to be on board or happen to be in the vicinity of it. The baby. So what I'm saying is what Guy is saying. Who's to blame? The girl made babies with the wrong man, and the man became the wrong man. So much so that even though his mother isn't involved in the gang, his little brother isn't involved in the gang, his grandmother is not involved in the gang, his children aren't involved in the gang. It doesn't matter. You're involved in the gang. And therefore, anything that's attached to you is subject, an open season. So you're putting yourself in jeopardy of being shot. Well, I know the example is extreme. Most of you can't relate to that unless you're inner city people, ghetto people. It doesn't apply to me. Oh, no, even more so to you. Because you're worse than the gangbanger. No, you were the nice guy with a nice job and a nice degree, behind the picket fence in suburbia. You're the one who doesn't realize that you're the gangbanger. You come home drunk with innocent little children have to be exposed to your nasty intoxication. Or you're at home washing dishes, mommy, while you're guzzling down the wine. Or grandpa is babysitting and granddaughter sitting on his lap. God knows what's going on there. Oh, we know. Because it's not the stranger you have to worry about. It's the gang banger friends who are probably going to cheat on you with your wife or your husband. Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am, but your bridesmaid's been cheating when you're out shopping with your husband. Sorry, sir, but your best friend had been coming past the house while you were at work. Yeah, the gangbangers, the ones that you married or you're friends with or in business with, people that say that you're friends and they're your employees, they're your disciples. No, they're talking behind your back, plotting behind your back, scheming, scamming, and they'll stab you throughout history. So, is it really so bad, this gangbanger shooting guns down the middle of the street? Or you in your office, in your manufacturing plant, in your warehouse, you in that coffee shop, you, mommy, daddy, brother, sister, friend, and those that are close to you, how they are in danger because of what you have subjected yourself to, and not anybody attached to you. Should the cops interview you when your child becomes a drunk or a murderer? Well, they start to do that now. You know, they have laws where you can prosecute the parent because the child is your responsibility. You've unleashed a monster into the world because you were a monster at home. Did you beat your children, curse them out, yell at them? Did you train them up in Disney but didn't train them up in the victories of David in the Bible? The teachings of Torah or the teachings of Nickelodeon? The soccer ball, the basketball, the football, the skateboard, the surfboard, you know the routine. What did you do? You're the parent. You're the gangbanger that's put your children in jeopardy. Then you want to blame everybody but yourself. But nobody raised your children. Not the kids they play with, not the teachers in the school, not the strangers on the street. They're going to be what they are because at home, the food you make them eat, of your nastiness, your godlessness, your confusion, your ambiguity, your lack of devotion, your lack of authority, your lack of submission and humility to God. Because they're looking at you. They're going to watch and follow that. You didn't enforce the law. You let them think they know the law when their brains are not even fully developed. Well, I don't want to force anything on them. They're little kids. They don't really know what they need and want. It's why you had them. The employees don't come into a company and boss the boss around. Be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? You had enough gumption to make a business, but you don't have enough gumption to know how to run it? Can make a baby, but don't know how to raise it? You fools.
And it's not something that just appeared. It's not new. Like Steven said, in the 1900s, the mob, well, it didn't start then either. See, I happen to know some of my personal history back to my grandpa's grandpa, because he's still alive, so he can tell me about his grandpa. And you can see the decline from one generation to another. But that's really only 120, 150 years. But it goes all the way back to the first man. You know, Adam and Chava, I know many of you don't believe that because you think you came out of a monkey that came out of a frog. But the first man, Adam, he was created in the image of God. He was perfect, but then, well, he chose a different path. And, well, you know what happened with his firstborn? Became the first murderer on earth, killed his brother. And it only went downhill from there until it got so bad that the Lord, the God of creation, had to wipe them all off the face of the earth. Left only 8. and one of them was so bad he made fun of his father's nakedness, exposed him, and his son got cursed. And then they got so bad, they wanted to get back at God that the Lord had to literally confuse them and disperse them. Now, we gotta break this up. Like a bunch of ragrats, you have to break them up because they get so bad. And, well, history, as we know it. So, who's really to blame? Well, everybody. Because a child does not remain a child forever. See, I gave you my example with my great grandpa. He was born in an Orthodox family and forsook it. Raised his children in some light manner of religion, and then my great grandpa, well, he became a traditional. Just kind of do the kiddush, do this thing. And then my grandpa, well, he took it another step forward. And he just, well, we don't need tradition. Why? What's the point? And then my dad, well, he was raised up eating pigs on the table. Complete secular, and they raised me up on television. Basically, let myself be raised by popular culture in secular Israel. But see, here's my point. I didn't follow in my forefathers' footsteps because when I came to my senses in my middle 20s, I came to realize, wait a minute, this is wrong. We have to return to Torah. We have to return to the source. And I did. So who's really to blame here? Because my father could have done what I did, and his father could have done what I did, but they chose not to do it. So you can always look to the parent and blame the parent, but what are you doing now that you are of age and can make your own decisions?
Well, the story of the prodigal son, it says he came to his senses. It didn't say that somebody took his senses. I like that because it rhymed. No, it didn't say that somebody went and preached to him. Sorry, Christian evangelist. No, it didn't take a pastor. Not for him. Didn't take a preacher. Didn't take a motivational speaker. He came to his senses. Now, that ought to say a lot. And I'll tell you why that says a lot. Because, well, why don't I come to my senses? You ready for this one? Sit down. You're not going to like the answer. You know why he came to his senses? I'm going to go back to Proverbs. Train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he is old, ... You see, what do you know about the story of the prodigal son? It really should be about the father of the prodigal. He let his son go when his son got all full of himself. There's something in the father. I know how I raised you. It's in you. I don't know how long you're going to go astray, how long you're going to be off, but you know exactly what to do. You know exactly the right way because I raised you and I taught you. Unlike Guy's parents. You see, the difference between some of you, you don't have the father of the prodigal. You don't have that. So the likelihood of you coming to your senses is highly unlikely. So what's the next door, number 3? You're not the prodigal son who's starting to rehearse and remunerate in his mind his father's house, his father's teaching. No, you had a father like the prodigal. Most of you wouldn't go back to your father's and mother's house if your life depended on it because you know it's even worse there. Not the case with the prodigal. What am I doing? I come from good stock. I have a good family. My father's holy. He's taught me better than this. Why? To be in my father's house as an employee is even better. I don't have to go back as a son. Because the way I'm living, as David said, I'd rather be a doorkeeper, an usher, than to sit in the highest seats in a council meeting. Mm-hmm. And so you could say, well, see, I didn't have a father like the prodigal. That's why I know common sense. That's true. But there's still another thing to consider. Well, Guy didn't have a father like the prodigal's father. He came to his senses. The Bible says, and every man is given a measure of faith. Amen. Every man is given a measure of faith. So even if you didn't have a father that preached like Paul, or sang like angels to make it far more a guarantee that you will be protected and you'll grow up right. There's still within you one last lifeline, that little seed in every human being upon their conscience. It's kind of like an emergency apparatus. They have a little thing in aviation that when planes lose their engines, there's this little miniature propeller. I forgot the name of it. It drops underneath the airplane in order to give it relative life sustaining, life support systems to navigate and to keep the necessary software operating. A little tiny propeller drops underneath the airplane. You who know aviation know exactly what I'm talking about. I know what it is, but I can't recall it right now. Look it up. That's that measure, that little measure of faith that comes in. It's not the giant engine, but it's enough to buy you some kind of time and give you that last hope of survival. But you ignored that voice. You ignore it. And everyone has it. The guy had it. He didn't ignore it. And when it's all said and done, it's always comes down to what you say and do when all has been said and done. Our reaction, your reaction, my reaction, there's a lot of blame to go around, and most of it is in the mirror. But nonetheless, regardless of who to blame, there is always God who is there, regardless of the blame game, to save us if we are willing and obedient. Do you want to be saved? You can get up. You may choose not to, but you can get up. You may choose not to forgive, but you can. You may choose not to give, but you can. You may choose to do a lot of things, and there's a lot of reasons why you can't, and a whole bunch of odds against it, and a few that are for it. Doesn't matter. You can make a decision against the odds and against the crowd and against the noise and against your own pain or pleasure or comfort. You can choose to do that. A lot of times, heroes are born in a moment because it's in the moment where the best of you will come out or the worst of you. You see, in the moment, you may be the one to run, but the other one in the moment is the one to stand his ground. He didn't intend to do it. He didn't have a plan to do it. It just brings out who you really are. The worst or the best of you. The seed that is there, the one that you've been feeding, the one that you've been cultivating, the one you didn't drown, the one that you did not attack. That quiet friend who didn't say anything until he needed to. That one who's never given anything and all of a sudden gives when nobody else does. The one who's never shown up at your door. And when you need the most, everyone who does, doesn't. And the one who never did, does.
You know, you remind me of the ugly duckling. That's what I'm thinking about. The one you'd never think, because so many people have a form of godliness but deny the power thereof, right? They're like the beautiful geese, right? Or actually, they were the ducks, and he was the ugly duckling who turned out to be a goose, right? I think I don't remember. But the point being, the late bloomer, the one you'd never think, the one that everybody would say, oh no, he's just a no good sinner, he's just a rugrat, she's a prostitute, he's a sinner, and those turned out to be the most righteous in the kingdom. Well, think about it, who did Yeshua pick? They weren't the brightest or the sharpest, you wouldn't have picked them either. A bunch of fishermen. He didn't go for the elite, for Gamaliel to pick up, the brightest. Paul was an exception, but the disciples, they were all just average people, sinners, like you and I. But when you're devoted, when you actually get it, when you actually have a hunger to get it, when you develop a taste for righteousness, sure, you will become the most beautiful goose on the lake. And all these ducks that were making fun of you, they're gonna be put to shame. And that's the gospel.
You praise Papa. I don't mind being the ugly duckling because God knows it takes too much time to put on all that fake makeup, cuts and tattoos, piercings in the tongue, piercing in the nose, and every other part of your body. Takes too much to shop for a label rather than just to be clothed, to be warmed. Takes too much to try to mimic Arnold Schwarzenegger's body or Kim Kardashian shape. Takes too much to try to look like something that's not me, be something that's not me, act like something that's not what God wants me to be. That's a lot of wasted energy. To be living your life in the eyes of everybody around you, your next door neighbor, your partner, your friend, rather than to live your best life as God intended, as He made you to be, and it's in the Torah. You can just live your best life as God intended, the one who made you. After all, you're willing to look like people who didn't make you. You want to look like and be like people who didn't say they created you. They don't even have to say they created you. You want to be like them. You want to follow in their footsteps because of a certain salary they make, or a certain car they drive, or a certain house they live behind, or a certain book they wrote. Thank you, Art of the Deal. And tell you how many real estate people, like the one I used to work for, worshipped Donald Trump. He didn't worship the Torah, and he's Jewish. Didn't worship God's God. His God is money and mammon, as most of you are. My Lord. But there's a seed of faith you get to reject or accept, and that's your judgment, so that you're without excuse. You're endangering yourselves. It's bad enough to take your own life because God values it, even if I don't. Every soul is precious in the sight of God. But isn't it even worse to danger somebody else's? How much more so your own wife, your own husband, your own children, your own brother and sister, your own friend, your own kinsman? Isn't that even worse? There's no reason for it. You hate your own life. You spit on the life that God is giving you, treat it as if it's yours and not His. It's kind of interesting. So if you'll do that to yourself, you'll do that to everything and everyone else. It doesn't matter if they're your family, friend, or foe. Everyone is going to get that same neglect. You know, the ones who can love their enemies are the same ones that can love their friends. Do you know why? Because they love God. That's how that works.